I'm just going to give my review of Resistance 3 here. First off, I'm going to talk about the story, then I'm going to do some pros and cons, then I'm going to talk about replayability of the game, and also just the overall general score of the game. First, the story, basically, it's about you, Joe Capelli. You're making your way to New York City to save humanity. On the back of the cover of Resistance 3, it says like you and a group of people, but at the end of the day, it really is just about you, and you're constantly reminded that it's just you every time that you're dropped somewhere or displaced from your AI counterparts and having to make your way through a certain area, which isn't all that bad considering that most of the AI in this game really don't help you out too much. Either they're shooting at nothing, they're shooting at the wall, or when they are shooting at the actual enemy, they aren't doing much damage. So it really is, in the end, all up to you to save the world. Let's talk about some of the pros of the game. First off, the graphics. The graphics are probably one of the best parts of this game. Sometimes in games, the cinematic cutscenes and the actual gameplay footage graphics are always a little uneven, meaning that usually the cinematics are always 10 times greater than the actual gameplay footage. In this case, that wasn't correct. Right from cutscene to actual going back into the gameplay, the visuals were basically spot on and even. There wasn't really much unevenness there or distribution where you wouldn't have to worry about the cutscene looking fantastic and then going to this rigid kind of 10% downplayed gameplay graphics. Textures felt like texture, right kind of textures. Wood looked like wood, cement like cement, steel like steel, water like water. The water was really good in this game. When you ran through places that were filled with water, or it was raining and water got on the screen, the droplets looked and moved like actual water would. The graphics of the game is something that you really can't complain about at all. The lighting, everything was basically perfect and spot on with that. Also the sound. Another great thing about this game, when you're in the middle of war with grenades and guns and everything going off, it sounded real. It sounded like you were right there, especially if you had headphones on or just really good sound system. You really felt like you were in the midst of battle. Also, the voice acting, very good. Voices matched the characters. It wasn't over dramatized. It wasn't overacted. It was basically spot on with that as well. So it was good casting and just overall just a good experience as far as the sound effects went. Controls. The controls of the game are very easy to comprehend. The learning curve is significantly small. Within the first 10 minutes of playing the game, or even less, you pretty much had a feel for shooting, throwing grenades, secondary ammo, switching your weapon, even melee. All pretty much came natural. And even after playing the game for a couple days and going back to it, it was easy to get right back into it. And sometimes that's hard with certain games where you have to relearn the controls while you're playing them. You haven't played them in a while. In this case, that wasn't even necessary because it was so natural that you just fell right back into it. Also, the storyline. The storyline is very in depth, also very interesting. It makes you want to play the game. It makes you want to keep playing the game, even though you're not. It picks up right where 2 left off, and even though you're not playing as Nathan Hale, you're playing as Joe Capelli. You get a different perspective of the Chimeran War, and in the end of the day, you still want to keep playing and learn what's going to happen. The depth of the game really brings you in from the beginning, and you're kind of wanting to finish it and find out what the final, conclusion is to this story. Some of the cons is definitely health. Now, I kind of thought about this for a while about what to say. It's not that I want the health to be regenerative. I think that is a cop-out for this game. Considering that he really shouldn't be able to regenerate health. So it's fine that the health wasn't regenerative. What my problem is that the health was sparse in areas that it shouldn't be. They have these little tips that come up on the screen, and one of the tips that come up usually when you die is watch carefully, enemies will be carrying health, which is bullshit most of the time, because when you're in the midst of battle and there's hordes of enemies, especially towards the end of the game, some of the parts where there was just waves and waves of enemies, none of them were carrying any health. None of them. So you're just scrambling around looking for health and getting shot in the process and probably dying, and there's really not much you can do about it. And then in places where you don't need health, there's a 3 and 4 and 5 just laying around, you know, all willy-nilly, no even reason or consequence, and your health is probably already full because you probably stole off one of the guys before you even got to this little area that had all this stuff in it. So it just kind of, I wish that was better played. I wish that somehow they made it where when they know there's going to be 30 enemies that you killed in this one little area, maybe one of them should be carrying some health. Just maybe one. I mean, it's just kind of, it kind of bothered me a little bit. And also, you know, your health decreased kind of fast, actually. Sometimes you'll be completely full, your bar is completely full, and then the next thing you know, you're down to 2 and 3 bars, struggling for life. It's just something I wish could have been better worked out as far as evenness across the board. Not too much, but not too little. Also, something about the game is that it's very repetitive, and I know it's a first-person shooter, so you really can't switch it up that much, but from cutscene, right at the end of the cutscene, you basically knew you were going to go right back into a gun battle. You knew you were going to fight some Chimeran, you knew you were going to kill 1,000 of them to make it out here alive. It was really no big brainer. The only parts that did switch it up a little bit is the train sequence and also the prison, which gave the game a little bit of a break and a little bit different feel. I wish they would have added something like that to the beginning of the game, maybe. So it kind of broke it up a little bit more, so you didn't feel like it was so repetitive, having to fight Chimera, get a cutscene, fight some Chimera cutscene. So that could have been worked on a little bit as well. Glitches, I didn't really get that many. I had a part in the game where it went like all X-ray vision type deal. I had some parts where I was firing, but the gun wasn't firing. It was just stuck. I had some parts where I felt enemies weren't taking damage from me, and they were just kind of glitched. But they eventually died, but just took more than I felt it needed to. Other than that, the glitches weren't too bad. Also, something else that is really annoying in this game is a lack of direction. And okay, eventually they tell you where to go after you spent maybe 5-10 minutes looking for where to go, but sometimes you don't have that time when you're trying to fight off, you know, loads of enemies and just trying to figure out how the hell do I get out of this room. And sometimes you just kind of were at a loss as to what direction to go, because sometimes it wasn't quite obvious, and sometimes the obvious choice wasn't the right way to go. So that's something else that could have been worked on. I wish they would just made it a little more prompt, you know. If they see that I'm struggling, I mean, just give me a little, just kind of remind me every so often, instead of waiting when I'm struggling for 10 minutes in this one place. Just kind of give me a little heads up every now and then that I'm going the right direction. Also, sometimes the guns didn't switch, and what I mean with that is that if you're not doing a fast switch, which is just tapping the triangle button, you had to hold it down and bring up your weapons queue. Well, sometimes I would put my little arrow on the gun I want, let's say like the Deadeye, and then when I went back to the game, I was holding something completely different, like the pistol or something. Don't really know how that happened, and at first I thought maybe I wasn't taking my time and placing the arrow on the gun that I wanted, and then I tried to slow down, and then sometimes I felt like it was right there and I take my hand off and it's a completely different gun. So I'm thinking that maybe it's something that needs to be worked on. Maybe it's my controller, but I don't think it was. It happened numerous times in the game, and that was something that kind of stopped the flow of the game some. It pulled me out of the game a little bit, having to go back in and get the gun I wanted twice or 3 times, instead of me just being able to hit it and move on. The replayability of the game. I think this game is very replayable. I will keep the game. I will not trade it in. I think if you have a PS3, it's definitely a game that you should have. I will go back and I will do more of just getting trophies and achievement hunting for the game. But it is overall a really good game. It's a really great first-person shooter, and I think that even if you haven't played 1 or 2, that you would enjoy this. Just picking it up and just picking the story up, even if you know nothing about Resistance 1 or 2, that if you just grab this, jumping into the shoes of Joe Capelli is quite easy, and it's quite fun as well. Even if you don't like first-person shooters, this may be a game that you may like just because it's a little different. They did a really good job on it. There are some things that could be fixed, but that goes with every game that you buy. So overall, I would say this game gets, out of 5 stars, I would give it a 4.5, because there are just some things that could be worked on, some things that were frustrating. Sometimes I was a little pissed at the game, but I think it's a must-buy. I think you would like it. I don't see too many people disliking this game. I understand they will, but overall the game is pretty well done. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy watching me play it. I will be playing Batman Arkham City next. I will be getting that at the midnight release, so I will be playing it as soon as I get home on the 18th in the morning. Probably have the videos up on the 18th, 19th at the latest. But like I said, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the next review. And this is Nerdy McFly signing out. Or when they are shooting at the actual enemy, they aren't doing much damage. So it really is, in the end, all up to you to save the world. Let's talk about some of the pros of the game. First off, the graphics. The graphics are probably one of the best parts of this game. Something you're constantly reminded that it's just you every time that you're dropped somewhere or displaced from your AI counterparts and having to make your way through a certain area, which isn't all that bad considering that most of the AI in this game really don't help you out too much. Either they're shooting at nothing, they're shooting at the wall. Times in games, the cinematic cutscenes and the actual gameplay footage graphics are always a little uneven, meaning that usually the cinematics are always 10 times greater than actual gameplay footage. In this case, that wasn't correct. Right from cutscene to actual going back into the game. Alright, I'm just going to give my review of Resistance 3 here. First off, I'm going to talk about the story, then I'm going to do some pros and cons, then I'm going to talk about replayability of the game, and also just the overall general score of the game. First, the story, basically, it's about you, Joe Capelli. You're making your way to New York City to save humanity. On the back of the cover of Resistance 3, it says, like, you and a group of people, but at the end of the day, it really is just about you.